Welcome to the Decide to Move podcast, helping entrepreneurs like you make smart, pivotal shifts in your life and business. Tune in each episode for inspiring stories from brilliant business minds and trailblazers to find out how they made their big moves and how you can too. Now here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijou.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Decide to Move podcast. You know, I'm always super excited to bring you some great content. And going in that, we're in a new year after dealing with pandemic. It's still ongoing. We have a lot of things that we have just been juggling and going through. I have a awesome, and amazing speaker that's here to talk to us why SMART goals does not work. We have Dijana. She is a leading success and business coach and Scandinavia and Global Influencer who has helped more than 100 entrepreneurs from 23 countries to launch and scale their online business. And she's in Sweden, people. So just let you know, she speaks multiple languages, and she'll give us more details about that. And from the moment that I met her, I knew that this was a powerhouse woman. She's not your usual coach with masters in business, but her expertise is a unique fusion of theory and practice as a serial entrepreneur for more than 16 years. Her online coaching business was built through her fierce drive to serve and impact millions and incredible collaborations and partnerships. And I am so grateful that she has decided to partner and collaborate with me today so that way we can bring you such great content. Without further ado, let's me welcome Dijana. How are you doing today?
I am so grateful for you, Monica, to have me on this podcast and to share a little bit of my wisdom, my knowledge, experience, and all this jazz. Thank you so much. I'm great.
Most definitely. I'm so grateful to have you. I mean, you come with so much knowledge and experience. And, you know, speaking of those languages, what languages do you speak?
So I am born and raised in Slovenia. So that was my primary language, to parents who are from Bosnia. So these are two languages that I grew up. Then in high school, I learned, of course, English and German. I was really driven to master Spanish. So I learned on my own Spanish as well. So that was until probably my teenage. Yeah, 18, 19, I had 5 languages. Then I met my husband and he's Albanian. So I learned Albanian as well. We moved to Sweden and then I added up Swedish as well. So 7 languages.
Wow, that is amazing. And you make it seem like they're so, so then by this time I had 5. And I'm like, I've lived in several different countries. And then it's just for me, it's like, it was kind of difficult. I would say I took Spanish. I learned a little bit of South Korean or Hangul. I learned a little bit about the Dutch or Deutsch, but Dutch was a little bit more difficult. But I understand that most people say English is the hardest language to learn out of all of them. Which one did you find the most difficult?
I think German. Yeah, German was the hardest. And
It really is.
Albanian as well, because I didn't had a proper education. Like, I just learned as a wife to someone and, talking with his relatives. So I didn't have I'm a nerd and I love to see things, not just, vocally. So for me, it was like Albanian was definitely the hardest to master. Now I speak fluently, but it was like, because I didn't have a foundation and basics and introduction into language. So that was a little bit challenging, but yeah, it's good. And I also want to say, like, this is my ultimate superpower. So I don't want someone to be discouraged. This is really who I am, because I was raised as a bilingual kid and always loved to, kind of, I see myself today as someone who is a global citizen, and languages really help me to emotionally connect with people from all around the world. So yeah.
That's great. And you know what I love about like learning like languages, I love culture, is the fact of being able to be so cultured. It helps you look at life so differently than just one dimension on one eye. And having those different experiences, being in different cultures and countries, it's made me have a global view, a different mindset when it comes to certain things. Has that
100%.
been your experience as
Yeah,
well?
100%. Yeah. And language, I think it's also like, even if now 80% of my time I think English, my brain thinks English, is still like I'm doing some cognitive things with my girls, teaching them language, our mother language. It's like, oh, okay. So how do it really, emotional connection is different when you have your mother language. It's different to explain them some things in Slovene or Bosnian, which are my mother language, than in English or Swedish. So yeah, it's that connection that will always be in one particular language. So it's really like seeing like culturally and traditionally, language is a connection. It's so powerful.
It really is. I love to connect with people, and that's why I always like to talk to them and feel their energy and different things like that. And what I have learned a lot when it comes to communication, especially in the English language, we have so many different words that can mean different things, and the way that you pronunciate it and then fluctuate them, makes a big, huge difference. But for me, I also say that words are just words until you put the extra. Like, so if you write something down, and it depends on the receiver how they perceive what you said, how much of a difference that make. I even just saying hello. I had a friend one time that where she was going through some stuff, and someone had would say like she was feeling like kind of insecure, and she was really seeking out relationships and dating other people. And so this guy responded and messaged her like, hi, hi, how are you doing? She's like, oh my god, he wants me. He's like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I don't think that he said it in that manner, but okay, if that makes you feel good. So we actually can put more onto something, or actually make people sound different than what they really intend to. So understanding a person's language and the intent behind it really makes a big, huge difference.
Yeah, that's why I think like my like speaking and having a podcast gave me such a like big advantage, because I'm not a writer at all. Like I don't love to write, especially not in English, because it's not my first language. I think that people can feel the energy behind the spoken words, and podcast is such a great medium for me personally to actually give value and deliver content, and people to get to know me better. So this is perfect. I love these conversations.
Yeah, most definitely. And what is the name of your podcast?
So my podcast is Fearless and Successful show, where I interview like global influencers and people around the world who share their fearless stories. So how they made it, pass through some adversities and hardships, and now they are someone who is making an impact to other people. So I'm excited to have you on my podcast as well.
Yes, I'll definitely be there. And I want to make sure I put in the show notes the name of your podcast so people can follow you as well and listen to everything that you're doing, because you're doing some amazing things. And so I'm so grateful that we actually got to connect. So tell me about your journey. What has been your journey in the entrepreneur world to get you to where you became that not your standard, not typical business coach?
Yeah. So I have been full-time coach now for 3 years, but prior to that, um, I was kind of already in leadership and coaching through network marketing business, where I was leading a company, my own company, through a brand in 5 different countries. So that already gave me, so that was 2015. So I kind of started. Mind you, 7 years ago in 2013, we actually moved. We left everything behind. My dream job. I was a HR professional working in at university where I did my master's, and we had a dream apartment, IKEA apartment. We had the one kid at that time, and we left everything and we moved to Sweden without anything. I didn't have even a job, nothing. So in 2015, until then, we had a roller coaster of finding a job and all this jazz. But 2015 really started to take off, where I started to build my business and getting back into entrepreneurship. And then into end of 2017, I started my coaching business. I would say that that journey came what I want to also, because it's relevant for people who are listening to your, specifically your podcast, for me, transition to coaching was not just something that I would pivot and, take, burn all the bridges and start something from scratch. I already had those leadership skills, and I was already like had a master's in business. And it came so naturally because one of my customers, she said, I want to be a yoga teacher and I don't know where to start. And I said, so, okay, what help do you need? And she said, I need someone who will explain me how to do a business plan. And I said, okay, I did a lot of business plans, with my own companies. I definitely have the theory behind it. And she said, would you be my mentor? And that's how my coaching actually started, by demand. It wasn't something that I woke up and I said, I want to be a coach. So for me, like that happened really easily. But then of course there were some ups and downs throughout the 3-year journey. So yeah, if you want, we can go through that, like what happened after that first client, or it was a rough first year.
Yeah, and most times it is like when you're first starting out, and you see people who are successful and other people don't realize there takes a lot of work behind it. It's about really laying a foundation. So when I always say that, I work with entrepreneurs who are making a pivotal shift, I am that coach that help them make sure that they're laying a really solid foundation and not just actually thinking that you're going to go from $0 to $100. Like we often hear like you're just one funnel away, but understanding the backstory behind how long and how many funnels that people created and how, driven, and how you've started something and it didn't work. And it's in those failures per se, or what actually makes you end up being better, because you learn the things that work and things that does not work.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into your talk about SMART goals and why
Hmm.
they don't work. When did you discover how ineffective that has been for so many people?
So for me, like the key point was when, after after my first launch, when I started my online academy, where I spent 3-4 months building everything, like the course, the outline, everything. And, I was blindly assuming that, I'm going to put this out there and people will buy like crazy. Well, it didn't turn out like that. So I had like goals, I had this like this SMART goals. So I'm going to build it and, all this good stuff. I have a timeline. It's going to be launched on 8th of March, which is, International Women's Day. And because it was focused to moms, how to balance their life and business. I had like all moms in my network, but funny enough, SMART goals really was something that was a key. It was a key topic that I was supposed to teach in this academy, and I had 8 other experts. So for me, the launch was not just failed. It was a complete disaster. We had one person who bought, and that was my friend. And I gave her 50% discount. And we know that one person is not a group. So I ended up coaching her for 3 months for 50% discount, which was not even my rate at that time. Not only that, my husband just said, you know what, this is not working anymore. You are always like working 15, 16 hours. Like, what is that? You decided to have this business to have freedom, but you don't have even time for lunch. And he literally packed his bag and he said, I'm gonna, I need some time to just think, what do I want? And that wasn't enough. 2 months after that, like I was still like, okay, I'm gonna figure out this business and whatever I was doing. And my father had a heart attack. And when he asked me, my father is also an entrepreneur. And when I asked him, like, what do you think, caused this? Because he eats healthy, he exercises, but, heart attack, what's that? And he said, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of, stressed about the money. And it literally dawned on me. Like, he was working so hard. He was literally trading his time for money. And because he was a, how do you call it, sole proprietor, like when he's sick, like this money doesn't come in. And I was like, oh, holy, crap, I have 3 kids, 3 small kids. What will happen if I don't, provide, or, it gave me such an insight into how am I actually working. And I said, this is not sustainable. And then in June, month after, I had an abortion with my 4th kid, and that was like, oh no, this just needs. This is the 3rd sign in 3 months. It has to be something else than just hustle and just work and grind. So I took that summer 2018 a whole, like a break, and I said, what it is that I really really want. Where do we start? So what is my goal? Of course, the freedom and the finances and time and all this stuff, but what it is that I want? How do I want to drive and operate as a business owner? And that's where I went really, really deep into my why. What hurts me. I love to say, not just what hurts me really stands for why. What hurts you? So what hurted me at that point was, that I couldn't, spend the time with my husband when I would say, I want to spend time with you. I want to have a day off with my kids. I want to have a conversation with Monica when I want to. I want to coach clients that I want to, not work with people who will just give me money. Some things that really fulfill me. And if I'm not fulfilled and I don't feel joy and fun, I don't want to do this thing because it's really like imprisoned me. So that was my biggest why, and I saw that more and more I was intentional about that. What drives me and what do I want? The more I actually approach the goals with ease, and it was really really effortless for me to achieve anything I wanted because it was so aligned with what my soul wanted. So that kind of went into intentional goal setting instead of like SMART, because SMART will give you like, okay, you have a specific goal, but it's not actually. Sometimes people are so stuck in that specific number, specific, whatever that is, because of someone else and not what they want. And I go with like, for all my people, for my students, my clients, is always the question, what do you want? How does freedom lifestyle and freedom metrics like looks like to you? Would you in 10 years still be doing what you're doing today? Because if you grind and hustle, you will, in 2-3 years, you will resent what you're doing. No matter money, you will not feel the fulfillment. And that is really like the top of it, like really getting behind the feelings that you feel around your business. Does it bring you love, joy, compassion, fun? If it's not fun, don't do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I appreciate you breaking that down because like I actually interviewed several entrepreneurs that were making 7 figures and 8 figures. And that was one of the things that they talked about is like they had this specific goal to make $1 million. That was their $1 million. And then they worked hard, they grinded, they did everything they needed to do. But then once they made that money, it's like,
what's done? What?
yeah, what's next? And I didn't have a why. They just wanted to make that money because that's, what people say, making that million will make you successful. But then one person particularly talked about how she lost her family, her relationship was falling apart. She didn't really know her children. Her business was thriving, but then when you go home, what are you going home to? So I really, and that's one of the things for my own journey of how I actually do goals and different things is to first start off with why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Everything that we do, whether it's podcasts, I love connecting, but why did I start my podcast? That was the beginning thing of I actually had to do. It wasn't just to say, oh, I want a podcast because that's what everyone else is doing. No, why did I start my podcast? It's something so simple. And everything you do, that's what drives us to be a lot more successful because we're meeting that why. I love what you say, what's hurting you, what is hurting you? I'm just letting you know I'm gonna borrow that.
Because it's like it's easy to say, what, because we need to connect both, pain and the pleasure. For me, the pain was that, that uh, I I'm not spending the time that I want with my kids. For me, freedom now means more than just the money. It means that I get to, wake up. Okay, I wake up 5 a.m. because I want to, because I work better when I'm a morning person. Not necessarily because I need to, because some guru told me I just work really, really cool when I take myself, my time, and but that's my freedom. That's my decision. I could wake up at 9 a.m. if I would want to. It's really that freedom of making decision, that it's not controlled by someone else.
Yeah, I like that.
And it doesn't even like, money is, and we came to a point here in Sweden living where, we literally couldn't survive. Like it was so hard. I was working as a cleaner. My husband didn't had a job. We had three little kids, and it was at that time too. And then we got Zara, which is pretty much miracle. And it was hard. It was really, really hard because we didn't have anyone who helped us. And now, like, money, it's good, but it's not everything, because I think that this, mental space and, joy and happiness and fulfillment is that what matters. Do more what matters.
Yeah, most definitely. So after someone asks themselves why and they understand their why, what would you recommend that they do next?
So then it's like really, and the second step is people um, sometimes don't know what they want. And this goes back to, what you said. I'm going to start my podcast because that's like something that is trendy. When you know your why, when you know why you are here on this planet and why you're doing what you're doing, the next step is to ask yourself, okay, so what it is that I'm going to be doing for next 3-5 years, or what it is the goal that I want to achieve. Be like really crystal clear. If your business and your one of your vehicles is podcast, what is your vehicle? Ask yourself, how do I want to bring value? If that's coaching, consulting, or whatever service providing, what is that vehicle? What do you want to achieve? For me, when I started my podcast, was really about, okay, I want to have a podcast, but what it is that is so important for me, it was me like breaking that barrier of speaking English and having a conversation with people from all around the world. That was my intention. And when I knew that, that's easy. I'm going to connect, and I'm just going to have what I'm going to have an open conversation with people. And when you're going that, like, without expectations, without outcomes, that's the beauty of it. A lot of time people get stuck on what it is that they want. They probably know what they don't want. So, right? And it's really like, and they will always say, I don't want this. No. You don't want to say, I don't want this. Say, be clear and specific what it is that you want. It's so easy. So I think that even now when I ask like some of my clients, so what do you want? What would your business look like? They still don't know, because it's something that, external world tells them how, this business should be done, instead of like, okay, really like designing your own business. We have information and knowledge like on a fingertip. Everything is Googleable, everything is teachable, but what you have inside, it's transferable. This is what you're going to transfer to your clients, your own transformation, your own solution. That's what you want to deliver. And that's not something you would Google, it's within. So what it is, so it's in. That's what.
Yeah, and the what to me, it's like what you were just saying, being authentic at the end of the day, what's inside of you. It's like that's something you, like you said, you can't get from Google. You can't, someone else can instill it in you. It's your authenticity. So what do you need to do in order to bring that out? What's the vehicle, a measure to actually achieve your why? So that's great.
A
I
lot of
love that.
people, a lot of people would go like, what do I want to launch? Like, well, what's that? It doesn't matter what do you want to launch. What matters is what do you want to deliver? What is your genius that you want to deliver to people? And then work from that. Like how you're gonna deliver, how, whether that's a membership, a podcast, a course, a program, a workshop. That's like really at the end, at the top of the goal setting. And it's really easy to get there when like the first step, the why, the what. And then I would say also like when, these are also the things that I think it's not that you get stuck on, but more of when I'm going to start. When I'm going to start to execute on this. Not so much because your goal will never have an expiration date, right? Even if we say, okay, so I had so my book is about to publish and I had a certain date that's going to be, because it's really connected with my daughter and it's going to be for her birthday. That was my wish. But when I started, it was a complete, other timeline. I started and I'm working in my process. I'm working towards it. If I don't hit the timeline, it doesn't matter because I'm working through the process.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into what we've been dealing with the pandemic, when people are so locked in to the win that it's very difficult for them to make that pivotal shift, difficult for them to maneuver. And it's like, well, but this is my timeline and this is when I said I was going to get it done, like kind of falling from the SMART goals that you were talking about. And they don't know how to like maneuver through that and finding alternative ways. Like for me, the people that became very successful are those that were transitioned from having their live events in person to being able to turn it into being virtual. And it's like, yeah, we just, have to make some pivots, but we're still on task. We're still achieving our goal. I'm still focusing on my why. And so I am able to be flexible. I'm able to pivot without actually feeling like I'm everything is falling apart. I found those that didn't know how to be flexible struggled big time with the win.
Oh yeah, sure. I think that's one of the characteristic of successful entrepreneurs. Like you really need to be flexible and to have that growth mindset in place. If this doesn't go right, you go left or whatever that is. It's always like a journey and the process. I think a lot of people miss. It's your goal is never an expiration date or an end goal. It's always the process that gets you there, and the journey is the most valuable part. Of course, when you come, if you have like, okay, I want to travel to Disney, of course that's going to be like the experience. But all the things that's going to come to place when you get to the Disney is going to make magic as well. Of course, the experience there will be beautiful, but the journey to there is going to have its magic as well. So don't disacknowledge that.
Yeah, using Disney as an example, for a person who never really was a good saver, or a person who never really accomplished goals or got achieve something they want to, that journey itself of like, I can do this now, what's next, what do I want to work on next? Let's do an even bigger goal, something else that I've always said I always wanted to do. It kind of awakens that piece of you that have these ideas, like creativity that comes up when you do that. So yeah, I think that's great. So we have the why. Oh, go ahead.
We have the why. So if we take the Disney example, so you want to travel to Disney, like, how the why? Why is this important to you? So what we have that's traveling to Disney, having like, I don't know, three days at resort, whatever. When starts now by planning. Your when really starts now. It's not, okay, the date will come, and in universe will provide you with the dates, with discounts, with opportunities, with people, with everything, when you are in line and aligned with that goal, when you're working towards it. Start now. I want to go in September 2021, and you're going to start working in June 2020. No, you start now. You start unfolding the paths and journey, everything to go there. So then, like, I would say the next thing is who can help you, who can support you. Maybe you have a friend in travel agency that's going to give you a little tips. What do I need to even think about when I go to Disney? If you have kids, who will do you go, with grandma or grandpa, and you take them so they can also, take care of kids, and you and your spouse or partner will go somewhere else, whatever. So who can support you? Who will really, who will be the resource as the fourth thing. I think that a lot of people miss that we are connected. Even if you're launching your business, or you are, starting, just start with your black book, and start, and just check who are the people in your network right now that you can reach out and say, hey, I want to run through these ideas with you. You will be surprised that you have a network that can help you right now, right here. You just get stuck on, oh, I'm gonna start this when I have the money to hire a coach. No, you probably have someone who knows someone, and just start with, like, really building a list of who can be that support.
Yeah, and that's already taking action steps, just even writing that list of who's in your corner, who can support you, who are the people that that you can actually bounce ideas from. Just having that is already taking action steps. It seems so simple, and people totally don't look at that as taking action, but anything that you do that moves the needle is an action step to help you reach that goal that you set out.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And the next thing would be visualize. I don't know, like, we people, like, there are like different types of people who can sense, who can see, who can feel, who can, but visualization when it comes to your goals is the most powerful tool. Because your brain, I'm going to say this really simply, because we both are in these spaces, and we know how, law of attraction and manifestation works. But to make it, like, really, really simply, if I would get you to close your eyes right now, and to go to your refrigerator, and to take lemon out, and to, cut your lemon, and to put it in your mouth, you would probably feel the juiciness of the lemon juice. You could feel that lemon without even going there physically. You could visualize that in your mind. And it's the same with your goals. Actually seeing yourself in a place in Disney, or launching that business, or, whatever that is for your goal, visualizing and taking time to create that mental screen will allow you to create opportunities and see, possibilities for you that you haven't seen before. Because your brain is going to work, it's going to already be in that place, and it's going to open, your mind is going to open, and we'll see, okay, oh, that's strange. Like, that person just, I haven't seen that person on Facebook before. That's crazy. Like, I'm starting my podcast, and this person actually knows someone who is a great podcast coach. Isn't that crazy? Because you're open, your mind is starting to explore ideas and opportunities.
Most definitely. And thank you for breaking that and explaining that. As a hypnotherapist myself, that's one of the things of helping people understand. And I incorporate visualization in a lot of things that I do, that if you can see it, our brain really literally needs that piece of emotional connection, because just words does not resonate. And that's where, like, the SMART goals, and you were saying, they don't always resonate. They're just words, but feeling it, visualizing it, seeing yourself in that position, hearing what people will say to you, what you would say to yourself, starts that whole little process of actually getting that law of attraction to you. So thank you for adding that piece in there, because to me, I add that in all of my pieces when I'm actually teaching people how to actually take real attainable action steps to reach their goals. So that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
I love that, and because it's, and I think that we as we get older, we forget to fantasize, and be creative, and and just explore that imagination. I have this beautiful, like, beautiful experience with my kids. We are all Disney fans, and just going through those Disney films. And thank you for Disney Plus in Sweden. Like literally, like 1 month ago, we hadn't had. So now it's like really like seeing the imagination and talking with my girls. And when they go like, oh, they're imagining these beautiful things. For us adults, it's kind of hard, but when you practice, when you allow yourself your imagination to get in a flow, you're gonna see like there is life is beautiful, life is magical. When you wander around, I'm such a daydreamer. For me it's easy, but when you allow yourself to be, to just be in somewhere else, you allow yourself to bring all the joy and everything that is available to you, because it really is.
That is so true. When we're children, we actually have our imaginary friends and just do all these great creative things. And then when we get older, for some reason, we lose it because we get so inundated with setting these specific and focused on, certain actions that is not helping you be free. Based on the concept of what you use, going into the why, it starts you off with daydreaming. It starts
Mhm.
you off, and then it ends with visualization of you actually seeing yourself achieving that goal. So I love the way that you broke that down to really help the listeners and those that are viewing this via YouTube, of what specific ways, especially with 2021, changing some of the things as you're making those pivotal shifts. You got a whole new process that you can put in place to really help make your year great, to really
Mhm.
take the things that we've instilled and say, I do have another way. For those that were struggling with SMART goals, they didn't have another way to do it. Dijana just brought you new ways to actually look at it. These are things you've learned and heard before, but now putting it all together really can help you take things to the next level. So I appreciate that.
Mhm. Yeah, I still remember what you said, what you just said. I still remember when I was a kid, and I would put all my dolls on the bed, and I would speak to them. And little did I know that that's going to become my dream, like, to speak on a stage in front of 10,000 of women. That's, the mission and everything. But that's literally like me going back into my childhood. That was my dream. I did dream big back then. Why do I don't like allow myself to dream big now? It's still there. That little girl or little boy is still there. Just like unleash it and let it start daydreaming and believing that there is more than just this.
Yeah, most definitely. That's beautiful. Is there another step, or visualization was the last step to that?
Yeah, that's it. I think that these are the foundation. Then you can also go, and there is like a left and right brain that's gonna think differently. So you can always do what we do in goal mapping. We always break it down to left would think in list, and right would think in vision boards, and like really creating those drawing and all this stuff. So you can play. If you're a left brainer, like write a list, write a little tree. And if you're a right brainer, do a little vision board. And I'm sure Monica has more resources on that.
Most definitely. Actually, I have a course that I have that focuses on that. And the biggest thing is actually both, like putting them both together, helping those that are so creative that they can't seem to come down, being able to create that list that'll help them. And the ones that are all focused on lists, how to dream, how to get to actually see. So our brains work better when we incorporate both the creativity side of us as well as the logical side. It's called, as a therapist, we call it wise mind, where you're, the dreamy, the emotions kind of thing compared to the logical intents, bring them together and you can make wise decisions in everything that you do. So that's great. So Dijana, how can people connect with you? How can they follow up with you and get more information from you?
I would love for you guys to connect with me on Instagram. That's my favorite now platform, where I literally like love to just dance with my girls and do Instagram reels. And behind the scenes, these are the things that I love to invite my followers to see what it is, the life of six-figure business owner and mom of three kids, and I'm ambassador for Mindvalley, and all this good stuff. How do I actually get to have it all? So I would love for you to get on Instagram and connect with me there.
And what's your handle on Instagram?
It's my name, Dijana Llugolli. So yeah, I'm sure you're gonna put this on in the show notes.
Most definitely. People probably driving like, wait, how do you spell that? Don't worry, it's in the show notes. Make sure that you grab them. Follow us on YouTube as well. We have you can actually see the video and be like, who is it, the person I'm talking to? So that way, whenever you want to connect with Dijana, you can know exactly who you're looking at and who you're talking to as well. So do you have any last words that you want to leave to our listeners and our viewers?
I would say when we are entering 2021, and wherever you're listening to this and whatever you are actually starting, whether that's like pivoting or restarting or reinventing or whatever you want to call it, just look what lights your soul on fire and who you are. I think like having that self-awareness, and that's gonna pay tenfold on a long run, when you know who you are. Like, I don't love all the personality types test or whatever, but do one that really like resonates with you, and get to know yourself so good, so you can actually, like, if you want to create an impact, an influence, a change, even if you're just a mom you are still influencing your kids, and you want to know who you are on that soul level, so you can be a good role model to your kids, whether you're in a job, really get real with yourself. I think that's the best tip.
Oh, I love that. And I'm going to leave it on that note. I don't think there's anything else I need to add to that, because that is amazing. So thank you so much, Dijana, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to continuing connection. Look forward to being on your podcast and your show as well. And so for all my listeners and those reviewing, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Decide to Move podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijou. If you are ready to make a pivotal shift and take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free discovery call by going to www.decidetomove.com. For all links mentioned in today's show and to listen to previous episodes, go to www.decidetomuvepodcast.com. And remember, we've all been delivered rotten fruit in our past. We can choose to chew on the rotten fruit trying to convince ourselves it's what we want, or we can become the fruits of our labor and create an incredible, fulfilling, and inspiring life and business out of it. You have what it takes to create the life you want.